Welcome back to Thone's Nibbles number 137, coming from a bit of 1 Corinthians chapter 4. And it's about judging ministers. It comes from 1 Corinthians chapter 4, verses 1 through 5. Let a man so consider us as servants of Christ and stewards of the mysteries of God. Moreover, it is required in stewards that one be found faithful. But with me, it is a very small thing that I should be judged by you or by a human court. In fact, I do not even judge myself, for I know of nothing against myself, yet I am not justified by this, but he who judged me is the Lord. Therefore, judge nothing before the time until the Lord comes, who will both bring the light of hidden things of darkness and reveal the counsels of the hearts. Then each one's praise will come from God. And the subtitle here is Judgment Comes from the Lord. Now, why is this in the Bible? To understand judgment of eternal things. And let me be very clear about that. We're talking about eternal things to be judged upon here, not to be judged whether you paid all your taxes, or to be judged if you ran a red light or something of that nature. That is judgment in a physical way, and that's done by men. Who is it written to? Those who judge others in the fellowship. The communications. Being judged by a man is not particularly important. Why is this in the Bible? To understand the judgment of eternal things. And who is it written to? Those who judge others in the fellowship. And remember, being judged by a man is not particularly important. The application to my life. Judgment or a human's actions with regard to spiritual things are of the Lord. He not only knows the action, but also the attitude of the actor. And that's important here. God says to me, understand the reason for a sin is just as important as discovering a sin. The point is that if you see someone sinning, you physically discover a sin in progress, what should you do? The point is that God, for these kind of earthly sins, or for even some others, the reason for the sin is just as important to Him as the actual sin itself. And so we have to be very careful, because He can understand why someone did something. This goes back to the little boy who was caught stealing from a grocery store because his mother was sick, and the two of them were at home, and she needed something to eat. God understands sin when it comes to certain things like that. Is that a sin? Yes, it is. It's still a sin. It's still against the law. But it's something which is much easier for God to forgive than for you to forgive when you don't know the whole story. My personal response: Lord, I pray that my action should not be judgmental of others. In particular, help me not judge the spiritual discernment of other brothers in Christ, but rather allow God's judgment to reign here. And let's be careful here. what we're talking about. I'm not to judge the discernment of my brothers in Christ. That is, I cannot say, obviously, they said that because they don't understand. That's judging them based upon some idea that I might have that why they did it. And I'm not supposed to do that. Now, in a couple of the coming lessons, we'll talk a little bit more about what you should judge rather than what you should not judge. So with that, we'll close, and I'll see you next time.